What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to Talking Mets and Rob. How is everybody doing as we head closer and closer to the trade deadline? The Mets' needs are very apparent, and there is pitchers out there to help this rotation, even though the New York Mets are getting healthier at the rotation as Kodai Senga and Sean Manaea make their way back to the rotation and clearly going to help the Mets through the dog days of summer into the stretch into the playoffs. The Mets still need help in that department. And I don't see why they can't go big in this rotation search at the trade deadline. Well, guys, this is where I think the New York Mets and David Stearns has a great opportunity here to not just get this team a little bit better, but get this team much, much better and better than probably a lot of people expected. But it's up to David Stearns to actually pull the trigger on a big deal. Now, some might say the big deal should be a bat. Some might say the big deal should be a rotation on. Some might say the big deal might be a bullpen on. But today, we're going to talk about what rotation on David Stearns needs to get and is probably more likely to get at the trade deadline. I truly believe that if there's a pitcher that is under control for 2, maybe even 3 years, 4 years, he might be willing to do that more because he can give up the prospects, knowing that he has control over that guy that he trades for over the next couple of seasons. Now, that might sound great, but I do think competition for those guys is going to be greater only because people like to trade for guys who are under control because you don't just lose them after 1 year. But you also got to look at if it's going to be less prospects going back for a rental. That might be the ideal situation where the Mets can pounce and David Stearns can pounce while saving on some prospects to maybe make other deals or just save some of these prospects in the farm system in general. Now, I'm a big believer that prospect hugging is a big waste of time, especially when a lot of your prospects are either up here already or who've already established themselves, like the Alonsos, Nimos, McNeils on this team. So, what is a deal that can get a guy like Zach Gallen from the Arizona Diamondbacks? He is a free agent at the end of the year. We'll get into details in just a little bit, but why not kill two birds with one stone and get multiple needs for the New York Mets by just this one trade? And what I'm talking about looks like this, guys. The Mets would get Zach Gallen and Josh Naylor from the Arizona Diamondbacks for Luis Acuna and Blade Tillwell, the number 14th overall prospect in the Mets system. And you're going to say, that is too much. Now, it very well might be. But sometimes you got to win that bid against other competitors that are going after it. How would you feel if the Dodgers get Zach Gallen or the Phillies or another team that is in the playoffs, the Cubs, and you're left out not getting them because they went to another National League contender? That is something that does not make sense to me. And it's been happening year after year for the New York Mets when they've had opportunities to get much better at the deadline. They get, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth best guy on the market, and other teams around them get the number one guy, number two guy, number three guy, and we're holding the plate saying, why didn't we get the better guys? This is an opportunity here. Yes, Acuna is going to hurt. Yes, Tidwell is not going to be as hurtful to most Met fans, but Acuna will be because there's a lot of fans that don't want to trade Luis Acuna. But when you got a logjam at this position, you got Lindor here for the next, 6 years? And yeah, Acuna can play second. He possibly can play third, but there's guys that can play that position. Brett Beatty can play that position. Jet Williams can play that position, right? Third base, you got Vientos, you got Mauricio. There's so many guys at that position that one of these guys got to be expendable. And if you can get a guy like Zach Gallen and along with Blade Tillwell, who is a guy that the Mets, are clearly throwing out there to pitch and spot start. So they don't see him as one of the high value prospect pitchers like a Sproat, like a Tongue, like a McLean. I think he's expendable. And I think this solves two problems with the New York Mets. Now you can say, well, Josh Allen's the first baseman and an outfielder. How's that going to help? Well, he can help our DH spot while every once in a while giving a day off to Brendan Nimmo. And he can help the DH spot. If you look at his stats, he's batting 295. Now, the home runs aren't going to make you get excited, but do the Mets really need another big home run guy? I don't necessarily believe so. Home run guys more leads to more strikeouts. And what the terrible performances and the year they're having with runners in scoring position, the New York Mets, you need somebody that could put the bat on the ball, and Josh Naylor could put the bat on the ball, as he has 93 hits, 58 RBIs, batting 295 with 11 home runs. Which again, he's on track to hit about 20 home runs this season, which is not bad. But when you have the possibility in your lineup to have 30 home run guys, and it's 4 of those guys that possibly can do that with the New York Mets, do you really need another high strikeout home run guy? No. Josh Naylor is exactly what the Mets need at DH, and I can care less about the righty-lefty matchup. The platoon does not work. Sooner or later, somebody in this organization, because Epler didn't do it, Aldis didn't do it. At the moment, Stearns hasn't done it. They all want this platoon DH when it comes to matchups, righties and lefties. It has not worked. It has been a debacle for this New York Mets team. Out of all teams, it seems like we're the only team that can't figure out the DH spot. You look at teams around the league, got, Kyle Schwarber, 40 home run guys. You got contenders around the league that have really good DHs, and the Mets are trying to figure this out still. It's becoming a real problem. And Josh Naylor can be your everyday DH. He can play the outfield when needed. He can play first base when needed. But you have options with this guy. And he's also a free agent at the end of the year, along with Zach Gallen. And this whole trade with Zach Gallen and Josh Naylor, I think, is extremely possible, only because I think Stearns doesn't mind getting guys that are just going to come off the books this year. But I just feel the way they've been treating Luis Angel Acuna this year, where they did give him the opportunity early over Beatty at second base, and basically he won it. And then he lost it rather quickly and basically was a bench player for this team as a defensive replacement and a pinch runner. And I truly believe that they think he needs a lot of development. And I don't think the Mets have time for guys that need a lot of development, because when Acuna figures things out, if he does, why aren't other guys established already? And he really has nowhere to play. I think Acuna is expendable at this point. I believe Blade Tidwell is expendable at this point, because the Mets are telling you that they don't like giving spot starts to their top pitching prospects, as David Stearns said the other day. Well, Tidwell has made spot starts 3 times this year. So that just tells you that they don't see him as a top prospect. Now, can he be a solid pitcher and be a 3 or a number 4? Probably. But David Stearns clearly don't see him as one of those other guys. So why not get an established pitcher in Zach Gallen and an established hitter in Josh Naylor, and it kills 2 birds with 1 stone. This is where the New York Mets need to be uber aggressive this trade deadline, right? Yes, there's 2026 and 2027. That's for prospect huggers. That is a waste of my time. You got to worry about this year. When is a GM, when is a president of baseball ops of this organization finally going to step up, put the big boy pants on, and make the big moves? It's got to happen sooner or later. It can't wait to the final minute to get Yoenis Cespedes into like 2015. Now, you get him, but it shouldn't have come to that. That move should have been done earlier instead of the final minutes of the trade deadline in 2015. David Stearns needs to be aggressive here. There's a lot of teams in the National League that are trying to get better. They're trying to take guys like Zach Gallen and Josh Naylor and put them on their team. Nobody wants to face Zach Gallen or other top pitchers in the playoffs. They just don't. And I don't want to face Zach Gallen in the playoffs. There's no need for that. The New York Mets can make these moves. They got an abundance of prospect infielders that are disposable. Not that they might not be good, but that they can use. David Stearns needs to choose between Jet Williams, Acuna, Vientos, Mauricio, Beatty, go on and on and on, of all the guys that we got that can play second and third. At least you can keep two of them, sure. So get rid of two of them. It makes no sense to keep them. Use them as assets like every other team does except the Mets. And it's about time to make this deal happen. So what are your thoughts, guys, on this proposal? Is it too much? Or are you willing to do it? Because at some point, you got to stop hugging these prospects because you're never going to win. If you're going to go get the fourth or fifth guy on the market and teams that you're fighting for a championship for are going to get the number one and number two guys on the market in whatever position you want to talk about, it's going to be very hard to win because other teams are going to get better than you, and you're going to have a hard road that the National League already is. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys. I want to thank you for watching, and as always, Met fans, let's go Mets.